Your financial assets should be liquid, safe, earning predictable rates of return, tax-free. In this educational episode, I'm going to answer the question that I've been asked. I'm Doug Andrew. If I have $200,000, Doug, in IRAs and 401ks, and I realize I'm not going to be in a lower tax bracket, and I have another $200,000 that's going to come in the next couple of years from a sale of a rental property, because I'm sick and tired of being a landlord, taking out the trash and fixing toilets and evicting tenants. And I have another $100,000 that's just sitting in the bank because I don't know what to do with it. I don't think the market's going to do very well. And I have, $1,000 or so a month that I want to sock away. What would you recommend? I'm going to show you without question what I would do with those assets to increase the liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits far above what most financial advisors would recommend. So, I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist for north of 48 and a half years, helping people optimize assets, minimize taxes, empower their authentic wealth. Many times when people would come to me, and they still email me and ask me questions like the one I just posed. Doug, how do I optimize my assets? What do I do with this money? I'm sick and tired of the volatility in the stock market. I'm sick and tired of being a landlord, fixing toilets and evicting tenants. I want to get rid of this rental home. It's an albatross around my neck. I have $100,000 sitting in this bank and credit union. It's earmarked for future goals. I don't have anything in the short term I need it for. I have an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month. What should I do with this money to enhance the liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits? Because maybe they've watched some educational episodes on this very channel, and they know the key elements of a prudent investment are: number one, liquidity; two, safety; three, rate of return; and fourth is tax benefits. And their advisor has not put their money in things that prioritize it in that order. That's not uncommon. So let me show you an example of what I would recommend for somebody who had those kinds of assets here. Many times I ask audiences when I speak across the country, what are some uses for baking soda? And usually the women will answer first and say, well, you can soak in the tub, or take the odor out of the refrigerator, take the pop out of a pot of beans, or what have you. And usually the men will say, well, I clean my battery terminals with it. And then somebody goes, oh, it's good for baking. Yeah, the obvious use. Well, that's why I've always focused on life insurance. And the obvious use is life. I use life insurance for life, for living benefits. Most advisors have their blinders on and only use it for death. No, E.F. Hutton was the brainchild in 1980 that said this is an incredible instrument for life, to be able to accumulate your money tax-free, and then be able to turn on tax-free income or access money for any reason if you're a business owner, totally tax-free. And then when you finally do die, anything you leave behind blossoms, increases in value, and transfers income tax-free. Nothing else does that in the Internal Revenue Code. And that was the emergence of max-funded indexed universal life. Universal life started in 1980, 1997, indexing was introduced. So I've often told people, hey, when you look at life insurance, don't focus on what it is, focus on what it does. It's pretty incredible. So let me show you. What E.F. Hutton realized clear back in 1980, there were three sections of the Internal Revenue Code that now have been around sort of like a sacred tax-free cash cow for 108 years. Sections 72E, 7702, and 101A. 72E says any money that grows inside of a life insurance policy by virtue of interest, dividends, or whatever will be totally tax-free, because they want you to accumulate money and have life insurance so that if you happen to die or if you happen to live a long time, you'll take pressure off of the government trying to provide for you. It actually saves the government money if they let you accumulate money tax-free, okay? They've done studies and found that if they taxed life insurance, it would cost them more than it would make them, okay? Section 7702 says, hey, if you want to use the money in a life insurance policy for living benefits, for tax-free income or your business or whatever, 7702 says how you must access that money to not trigger tax. And then at the end of the day, when you die, anything you leave behind, if I died right now, I'm 70. If I died in an accident tomorrow, every million would blossom to about $2 million and transfer tax-free to my wife, my kids, my grandkids, the church or charity, whoever I leave it be to as a beneficiary under Section 101A of the code. Nothing else in the Internal Revenue Code does what I just said. Now, in 1980, there was this massive exodus of money leaving the banks and the brokerage firms into these because these were safer. They paid higher interest. They were tax-free. And so the IRS went to Congress and said, we got to change the definition of tax-free under these sections of the code. In a nutshell, in 1982, under the Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act, they dictated the minimum amount of life insurance that had to be attached in order for it to stay tax-free under these sections of the code. If you didn't have at least a minimum amount of insurance in the insurance policy, based upon the person's age, gender, and health, it went over to the taxable section of the Internal Revenue Code, and it was deemed an investment. So they didn't know quite what they were doing. So 2 years later, they redefined it under the Deficit Reduction Act. This spells the acronyms TEFRA and DEFRA. But TEFRA and DEFRA gave parity, meaning equality, where it didn't matter if you were a 22-year-old athletic marathon running female, or if you were a 60-year-old or a 78-year-old friend of our family who came to us back then. He had 3 blocked arteries, adult onset diabetes, a prostate cancer episode, 6 sisters predeceased him, and 3 brothers predeceased him. And he was able to earn 11% and net 10%, just like the 20-year-old on his universal life policy, because the amount of insurance required for him, even though he was rated Table D, we were able to squeeze down the insurance amount to where the cost of insurance only drained out 1 percentage point of his rate of return. He earned 11 and netted 10, just like a 20-year-old, okay? And so there's a lot of insurance agents that don't know how to do that. Now, TAMRA came out, the Technical and Miscellaneous Revenue Act of 1988, when the banks and brokerage firms couldn't compete, and they lobbied Congress not to eliminate these, because this is where they put their Tier 1 assets for liquidity and safety. I mean, banks take your money and take 30 to 40% of it and put it into these types of instruments. They pay you 1% and they earn 5% or higher. They're making 5 times or 500%. TAMRA simply was designed to slow the flow. So, TEFRA and DEFRA have to do with the minimum amount of insurance. TAMRA has to do with how fast can you put the money in if you want to have tax-free income, tax-free access under Section 7702. Okay. For years, I've compared this to, metaphorically, to a bucket, okay? So let's say a bucket is an insurance policy and you're designing this insurance contract to accommodate the amount of money you want to be grandfathered to be able to put in there. If you put in more than that, they're going to have to refund it to you. But if you comply with TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA, all of the interest that you're earning on this policy will be totally tax-free, and you'll be able to turn on tax-free income. So TAMRA says, well, you can only fill it up if it's universal life over about 5 payments if you're over age 50. If you're under age 50, you could do it in about 4 payments, okay? So I've been a specialist for this for years because I want the spigot on this bucket, the cost of the insurance, which the IRS says has to be there or it won't be tax-free. It'll move over to the investment section of the code. I want it to be as small as possible, as soon as possible, but it's really not a cost. If I'm earning 11 and netting 10, that 1 percentage point is money that would otherwise go out the window in unnecessary tax. If I earned an IRA, if I actually owned an IRA or 401k and was earning 15%, I would only be netting 10 after tax and 9 after fees. I only have to earn 11 to net 10 in one of these. So it's actually watering a nice money tree because it's going to blossom at the end of the day when I die. So I've often compared this to buying a 5-story building or building an apartment complex. If the IRS said, Hey, if you only rent out the first floor the first year, and then the first day of the second year, you rent out the next floor, and then the third floor, and then the fourth floor. And then in 4 years and 1 day, you can rent out the rest of the building. All of your rental income on that rental property will be tax-free forever after. I would do that because the tax-free cash flow is what I want at the end of the day. So this is what you do. I mentioned at the beginning, I had a person say, Doug, what would you recommend I do? I'm 57. I want to retire at age 67 is what he told me. He said, I want to redirect for 10 years between $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Instead of putting it into my 401k, I'm not going to be in a lower bracket. I've studied and I don't want a 401k. And I want to reposition 100,000 that's sitting in a bank or credit union earning less than 1%. No brainer. But he had another 200,000 that he was going to get from the sales proceeds from this rental home he wanted to get rid of. So we accommodated that in the second and third year. And in year 4 and 5, he's going to be over age 59 and a half. And so we can start doing a strategic rollout, getting money out of his IRAs and 401ks, pay the tax, and take the net after tax and put it into this. And when he ultimately dies at the end of the day, he's going to get reimbursed any of the taxes that he does pay, but he's going to be way better off tax-free on the back end. So what I did is I added that up. That's 500,000. And then if I want to accommodate, let's say 1,000 a month for 10 years, that's another 120. So I have to create a bucket, or an IUL policy that will accommodate 620,000. And if he wants to sock away 1,000 a month forever after, I have to go another year, so that would be 632. That dictates under TEFRA and DEFRA a death benefit of 1.3 million approximately. Okay, so when I'm designing the bucket, if all he had were those lump sums, 500,000. If he were 60, I would need about $1,250,000. He's 57, so I said it'd be about 1.3 million. But as he fills up that bucket, like I've talked about, with 100, 112, 124,000 a year, in 5 years, he's going to have most of his money in the bucket, and it's just going to zing. That 500,000, for example, after 5 years, earning actual effective rates of return that I've experienced, 9.62 has been my average since 1980. You divide 9.6 into the rule of 72, your money doubles every 7.5 years. So after the first 5 years, he's jumped through the TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA hoops. That 500,000 is in there, and it has some interest. It would be worth probably 560, 570, maybe 620 by then, depending upon the rates of return. That's going to double, okay, to 1,200,000 in 7.5 years. Well, because that cash qualifies as part of the death benefit, okay, the amount of insurance the insurance company's charging him for is now next to nothing, because his cash value by 12.5 years, 15 years, is equal to or greater than the original death benefit. The insurance company's only going to charge you for the net amount at risk, because if you die, they just pay out what it is. Now, if this grows to 2 million, TEFRA and DEFRA says the insurance company must pay out about 5% higher than that. But the insurance company's only charging you when you have $2 million of cash in the bucket. They're only charging you for 100,000 of insurance, 5% above that. The interest on $2 million of cash value at that point in time is so much greater than the spigot or the cost of 100,000 that this turns into a cash cow. If he earned 11 in the 20th year, he would net 10.9 in that given year. But retroactive back to day one, if you earn 11, you're probably going to net about 10. It's incredible. So if you want to learn more about how you can do this and how your assets could be optimized, I want to gift you a copy of this book, and I'm going to tell you how you can have an illustration created based upon your particular set of circumstances. So this is the Laser Fund book. It's 300 pages. You can claim your free copy by going to laserfund.com or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I will pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you. It's 300 pages of charts, graphs, and explanations, and you flip it over, and there's 62 actual client stories on this right brain side. But this is about you and your brighter future. There's options there to listen and learn if you want, watch and learn, and you can also join us for educational webinars. But if you just want to talk to a specialist right off the bat, you can go in and schedule yourself an appointment where they have openings that are on that website right here. So this is about you and your brighter future, but claim your free copy of this book sooner than later, because I want to help you optimize assets and minimize taxes. I don't want you kicking yourself for missing out on an incredible opportunity.